I want to just upload this video to all of my sites because I'm reading the news sites talking once again about the story I discussed the other day. Yes, and I linked them. Yes, a pack of Marlboro Black Short Red, and I linked those stories to my Facebook site and then to some of the other sites. But it doesn't go to all my sites, all the links. This video, YouTube, it'll go to the other ones. So just go to my Facebook site, which is John Chiarello, and that's the link for it. And the reason I shared those stories instead of making an entire post is, and I mentioned it the last week, part of the investigation on Mr. Trump and the Russian there were two key real, explosive, secret, hidden evidence that the FBI, Mueller, all of these so-called righteous warriors, Mr. Comey, and what were the two big secret things? Well, most people are familiar with what's called the Russian dossier, which was information paid for by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats with actual contacts with real Russian government people to obtain a lot of information. And they used a man by the name of Christopher Steele, who was a former British spy, and he illegally had contact with the foreign government, and he was not registered as a lobbyist, and actually getting this information called the Russian dossier. Now, when all that information came through, which was political opposition research, which was through illegal contacts by Hillary Clinton and the Democrats to obtain that, then it made it into the hands of our deep state or government agencies and was used to begin an investigation, meaning to get FISA warrants and secret warrants. Now, when people began realizing this was political opposition research, and many in the legal community actually believe that using this piece of evidence to spy or to even have any inside investigation on a presidential campaign was very shaky. And when all of this kind of came out this last 6 months, our government and our FBI and our secret agencies, they assured people, no, we had greater, deeper information than the Russian dossier. And in these ongoing investigations, they asked, okay, then what's the other? And all of our media reported it as well. This investigation wasn't started on that Russian dossier, but we had inside information that a Trump person was running around spilling the beans, that everyone in the Trump campaign is saying, we know that Russia hacked into Hillary's emails, and we know this for a fact. Okay, that's with the FBI, the Comey people, the Mueller people. They assured us that we can trust them, that this man by the name of George Papadopoulus was running around in London, drunk, spilling the beans. Okay? They all told us that. Well, what we found out in the last 5 days, I don't care if you want to use the term spied on or an intelligence source, what we found out in the last few days is that our government, our FBI, our agencies have had a British professor for many years that kind of worked. He was part of the spy organizations in Britain, whatever it's called. Well, he's worked as like an intelligence source and all. By now, he's been outed by very other public things. But what we found out was they actually made contact with this man that worked for Trump, who was an unpaid low-level man by the name of George Papadopoulus. And they kind of said, oh, you have expertise in doing, you're going to cover a story, we're going to pay you $3,000, fly you to London. All of this was a setup. And he was kind of surprised. You're asking me? Some people out of London want me to go and write a paper? Oh, yes, you have expertise in these matters. So when this Trump guy goes over to London, part of our own contacts, FBI, undercover, including this man I just mentioned, they actually approach him, Trump's man, and say to him, so we heard, this is like the cops telling the person they're investigating, so we heard that you guys in the Trump campaign all know about the Russians hacking into the Hillary Clinton emails, right? Now, this is what Comey and the others are looking for. And the man answers, actually, no. Not that I know of. And he's like in London thinking they're paying me $3,000 because I'm like this special guy. The whole thing's a setup. And so our own connections, FBI undercover, this particular man who's been outed already, they're telling Trump's guy, well, we heard about it. And the guy's like, no. They're like, well, yeah, he does. We know he does. Okay, they kind of feed this to this unsuspecting low-level guy. Just the whole thing's a setup. Let's see if this Trump guy will repeat the words that we, the undercover agents, we, the connected people, actually are planting in him with this whole setup to fly him to London. Just watching him, telling him what to say. And his response at first was, no, I don't know anything about Hillary or the email hacking, no. Oh, yes, we assure you, Mr. Papadopoulos, this is true. So he gets drunk one night. They're all there waiting. And he blabs that out to an Australian ambassador, I believe. That's it. We got him. Obviously, Trump and his campaign know about the Russians because one of his people said it. What a setup. And our media, regardless if you want to call this he spied, that's a setup. And Senator Warner had warned the world, if you try to get this exposed, you will be facing criminal. Warner, you should resign. It's a disgrace, Senator Warner. It's a disgrace that you would be worse than Nixon in trying to cover up stuff. Mr. Warner says, if you expose the national secrets of our country, we're exposing corruption. You should resign. Disgrace you are to your office. And then you purport all of this to the public. And your media is a disgrace because they've been lying about that. So that's what I just posted. That's what I just posted on Facebook and on the other sites, these various stories concerning it. And the media is in full mode to tell you that all of this was very acceptable. And I tried in a few minutes to explain what a massive setup that operation was. And you use something like that to embroil this country. That is considered the second key piece of evidence to begin obtaining illegal FISA warrants on citizens, Carter Page and people like this. And I remember the media multiple times said this was really the main evidence that the FBI had. Planted that and got this guy to plead already. And you say Mueller's a righteous warrior? Calder Times said a man of integrity? You're such a disgrace. You media are such a disgrace.